from the year I've been running. Why are you just starting to record after after 22 minutes? Damola or Messi, how does that
Sorry,
happen?
my network was very, very bad, so
You
I
should have
just had
told
to.
somebody else. You should have given somebody else the admin right to start recording. You're starting recording 20 minutes or 22 minutes after I started. Anyways, right? I've lost my train of thought. Yes, I was saying I've been running training heights since the year formally since the year 2003. Formally, within that period, I've gone through all sorts. I have seen things happen. I've seen companies start. I've seen companies disappear. I've seen all sorts in the last 23 years of my running training heights and a couple of other companies. I've seen all sorts. All right. So I've done 23 years at least training heights will be around for 50 years at the very least. Right. After 50 years, I'll be fine. So we've done 2023 to date. We still have about another uh, 27 or 28 years. 2023 to date. I'm certain I can tell you reasons why we have struggled as an organization. I've seen organizations, they had a big flaw. I remember when we started, there was one big company, Techno something. They were in the same building with Philips Consulting and that UBA building. Oh, where years after they had packed up. I remember the biggest training school in the whole of Nigeria as at then, the biggest. I used to go to take exams there. I used to wonder, will I ever be big? Are we ever going to have clients? Are we going to be successful? I was in the first, second, third, fourth year of running training heights. I just used to sit down there. They had a testing center also. I used to look at them. I'm like, wow. Then you will see Nigerian Bottling Company. They will come in there. Guinness will come in. The banks. All these organizations will come in. They will put their label on each of the rooms in the organization. They'll put they'll put a label on the door to say, do not disturb. Guinness here, training, CCNA, CCMP courses, all sorts of great stuff, technology courses. They used to run Oracle DBA courses. Those companies they packed up. In the last from 2022 years of my running training nights, I've seen training companies show up and then I've seen them disappear. I've seen them come up. They will sometimes they start big with a huge investment, but then they disappear. So we're going to explore this conversation next week. Today is not the day that I'm going to talk about it. I just wanted to introduce it. I just really wanted to introduce it so that everybody knows what this is. So I'm also going to try and bring somebody that I know that is a startup founder on the call next week. So please bring your friends, bring your cousins, bring your enemies, bring your girlfriends, boyfriend, whoever. Bring them in next week. We're going to talk about startups and what do they need to do to be successful. But I can tell you that the reason why most companies fail is on this page. It might be a different combination for different companies, but the reason why companies fail is on this page. I can tell you that. I wrote this out of my own experience. Maybe I'm definitely not Dangote. We're definitely not the most successful of organizations, but we've been there and we've stayed the course of time. We stayed the course of time. So what I can tell you, if you go back to an organization, why did they collapse? I mean, in Nigeria, in the last 5 years, there are more than 100 startups that have collapsed in Nigeria. I promise you that. You know the number of people who come for interviews in our office and say, "Where?" They say, "Oh yeah, I used to work in a startup, then they failed. Oh, I used to work in a startup, then they collapsed." You know how many people have come from the United Kingdom, have come from the US, have come from Europe and North America into Nigeria to come up with, to do startups. Then those startups, they fail. They pack up. They start with a nice office. They come up with great furniture. So everybody, once again, go into the chat room, share your thoughts with me. Why are startups failing? Somebody says team management, improper financial market need. Maybe the market does not even need that which they sell. Okay. All right. So everybody come to the chat room. Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you. Yes. Started formally in the year 2023. That was 2003, sorry. Formally in the year 2003. I've seen companies come and I've seen them go. I've seen companies start and I've seen them disappear. Some of them even made more money than we did. All right, some of them bought bigger cars, maybe even bought a building, but then they disappeared. I'd rather have a functional business that is growing and that has even excellent potential to succeed than to have one that has bought a building, bought great cars, and then business is dried up and they've disappeared. Everybody. So once again, share your thoughts with me in the chat room, everybody. Tell me, why do you think companies fail? Why? Why are companies failing? And companies are failing every day. Sometimes it's innovation. They stay the same in their products. I mean, for me as an organization, I put that 5 and 6 because I know that that's the biggest challenge my organization has got. We're not very good when it comes to branding and when it comes to sales. That's why I highlighted number 5 and number 6. In all our internal meetings, we're always using this page. I don't know whether some of the leaders in our own organization, let me see if any of them is here at all. None of them is here. I think it's only Edith that is here. Boiwa is not here. Afiz is also here. That's great. Let me see who else is here. Okay. So in our own organization, our biggest problem is 5 and 6. We're not very good marketers. We're hoping to be. We're getting better. We're putting a lot of time and attention into becoming better, an organization that gets better when it comes to branding and sales. We are getting better, but that's still our biggest challenge. We've got great products. We manage risk. Our strategy is great. We don't waste money. We're not people throw money away. We don't do outlandish projects. We have good people, but generally we just struggle with number 5 and number 6. That's one of the things with the startup, right? Their DNA sometimes, their DNA is like their DNA is the DNA of the founder becomes the DNA of the organization. As a person, I'm very poor when it comes to personal branding. As a person, it's not my strongest, it's not my strong area of, of competence. Personal branding, personal, those kinds of things. I'm not very good when it comes to a lot of those things. I don't wear a three-piece suit everywhere with a pocket square. I wish I could. I really plan to. Maybe one day I'll start to wear a three-piece suit. I'll start to look like somebody who works the Wall Street, right? And we're good with sales, but we're poor with number 5. So ordinary, I should not even put 6 there. But 5 affects 6. Everybody, do you agree? Number 5, if you're doing badly with number 5, it will affect your number 6. If you're doing badly with 5, it will affect your number 6. Anyways, that's what I wanted to say. One of my favorite sayings in the world is you cannot give what you don't have. Shola, okay, Shola, one of those Abuja ones, right? So you said, oh yes. Yeah, actually we're going to talk about startups a lot, right? We're going to talk about startups a lot. Why do they fail? Should you go and come up with a startup? Those kinds of things. Yeah. Inability to, project. How many cryptocurrency startups have failed in Nigeria? Anybody? Does anybody know the number of cryptocurrency startups that have failed? Like 1 million. All right. Exactly. The startups are, thank you very much, Governor. The startups are interested primarily in getting capital and in raising. It's almost like they focus on just raising funds. And once they raise the funds, that's it. It's almost like they do not have any plan for the business. They are more interested in raising funds. The startups are more interested in raising funds. Anyways, this is just I just decided to bring this because this is what this entire course in well, yes, your inability to see government policies can come and make you fold up your company. Tax can make you fold up your company. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, your inability to manage talent. I mean, it's a dozen and one reasons. Okay, and the big challenge in one startup might be different from another. So we're going to have this entrepreneurship conversation next week. We're definitely going to do that. We're going to have this entrepreneurship conversation next week. So please go and do your research because, as I said, this entire course in entrepreneurship and business management is primarily to turn you into some kind of expert with regards to everything on my screen. That's what this whole course is about. It's entrepreneurship and business management. And the idea here is to turn you into an expert of some sort across everything that is on my screen, across everything that is on my screen. Your inability to get all these things right, becomes an issue. Your business will fail, your business will not grow, your business will not scale. So you need to get on top of this as it is. So that if you ever go through, that's why we're working on entrepreneurship and business management, different levels. Level 1, level 2, we're going to do this all the way into next year. We're going to do this all the way into next year. Drilling down into different topics here. We're going to be drilling down into different topics, different areas. At some point in time, we're going to drill down into leadership. At some point in time, we're going to drill down into human resources. At some point in time, we're going to drill down into financial management. We're drilling down. We're going to drill down into all this. We're going to drill down into all this as it is. So once again, thank you very much for being here. Today is not going to be very long. We're going to be talking about different types of business ownership. So can somebody tell me in the chat room, what are the 3 types in Nigeria? The ones in America, the ones in the UK, they're slightly different from the one in Nigeria. If you want to go to CAC and you want to register a company, what are the 3 types of registrations that you can have in CAC? Can anybody tell me? Does anybody know? Anybody? Please go to the chat room, everybody. Go to the chat room. I want you to speak to me. Call 1. What do they call? You can do business name registration. Am I right? I believe so. I believe you can do business name registration. I believe so. That's one of the ones you can do in Nigeria. Okay, I believe so. And that business name registration can be 1 person and it can even be 2 or 3 persons. So what is the advantage or disadvantage of business name registration? Anybody? So business name registration can be sole proprietorship and it can also be, sole proprietorship and it can also be partnership. Everybody? All right. Please come into the chat room. What are the advantages? Good. Thank you very much, Esther. Thank you. Good. So a business name can be both sole and partnership. Am I right? You can do business name even for partnership. Two people can do business name. Three people, three persons can do business name. Am I right? And you want to go and do, because if you go to CAC, there's no registration called sole proprietorship. Am I right? It's a model. There's no registration. I wish Schweib was here. Schweib does company registration for a lot of people. Okay? All right. In Nigeria, we also have business name. So yes, business name can be sole and it can also be multiple. So it can be partnership. The business name can be sole, it can also be partnership. Then we also have limited liability. A limited liability company, which can then be of two types. So it's important for any student of business to understand these fundamentals, everybody. It's important for any student and every student of business to understand these fundamentals, okay? It's important. So it can be a limited liability company. You can register a limited liability company. You can register a limited liability company. You can do that, okay? And when you have a limited liability company, it can be what? Private or it can be public. How can you? Yes, a lot of people do that. So yes, allow others not to be able to, yes. So CAC is the organization, right? So all right, there's also the concept of name, if you want to register a company, you have to do, what's that thing called? Is it name check or what is it called? Can anybody remember? If you want to register a company, there's that thing where you have to go to check the name of the organization, if it's available. If somebody has not taken it yet, name search. Thank you very much. Right? A name search. So, because if your name has been taken by somebody, you will not name availability, name check, yes, name search, name check, name, whatever that thing is. There used to be a utility on the CSE website. Can somebody check for me? Is that utility still working? There used to be a utility on the CSE website. Is it working? That utility that allows you to be able to do name check. Is it working? Check. Usually it's not working. But normally before you even pick a name, you can check. Before you even pick a name, you can check, because that's what happens. You will try. I mean, please try and get try and get Shuaib onto this call for me, please. I don't know why he's not here. Maybe Elijah is going to sit in the mosque. He wants to pray all day. Hmm? Okay. Richard says that in Ghana, they are supposed to, Richard, you guys are there. You're better people than us. You know, I'm half Ghanaian. So half of my body is in Nigeria. The other half of my body sits in in Accra. Eh? The other half of my body sits in Asylum Down. I've lived in Mamprovi before. I've lived in East Legon before. I've lived in Adabraka before. And now our office is an Asylum Down. So I'm almost more Ghanaian than most Ghanaians that I meet outside of of Ghana. Right. Even at some point in time, I used to go to KNUST to teach. I've been in Ghana for about 15 years. So I'm pretty much part Ghanaian. Jimoski says prayer is not the key always. Yeah. Prayer is not always the key. You know, in Nigeria, we use prayer to resolve everything. If our website is not working, we will talk about prayer. If there is no water, we'll talk about prayer. If there is no electricity, we'll talk about prayer. You know, We have moved away from using from spiritual things. Prayer is meant to provide us with economic and social things also. The things maybe the government is meant to provide, you and I will uh, will use prayer to try to resolve it as it is. So, anyways, so I mean, is the CSC name search? Is it working? No, it's not. I doubt it's not. But they say that for Ghana, it's working. Please, Richard, put the link for the ORC portal in Ghana. Drop it in the chat room, please. Drop the link for the ORC portal in Ghana. Drop it in the chat room so that people can go there. Right? Jonathan says the one in Nigeria is working. Okay, Jonathan, look for training heights in there. Jonathan, look for training heights. Is it showing? Is it bringing up training heights there? Is it bringing up training heights? Okay. you want you want to fire? May you find may you find a great one here. All right. Okay, guys, this is Liberia. Okay. All right. So put the link for the Nigerian one. It's working. Anyways, thank you very much. Said the Ghanaian one is working. So there's training nights in Ghana. There's training nights in Nigeria. So both portals should ordinarily give you training nights information. Training nights in Nigeria. Training nights in Ghana. It's both locations. It should give you that. Anyways, so it's important for you and I to understand what you can do in Nigeria or in Ghana and what also obtains in the US. You know, so when you want to do sole proprietorship or partnership, you can do what is called business name registration. All right, and it's got advantages and it's got disadvantages, everybody. What are the advantages and the disadvantages? Is there an amount of money, if you open a bank account with business name registration, is there an amount of money that you are not allowed? Can you trade in your business name? Can you trade up to $100 million? Anybody, do you know? Can you trade? Does anybody know? Can you do business up to 100 if you have business name registration with the bank? Is there a limitation to or a limit to the amount of money you can transact on your bank account when you have business name registration? Does anybody know? Does anybody know? The other thing is that when you're doing, are you serious? No limitations. Labake, you used to be a banker. Tell us, are you serious that a business name can transact to any, no limits to the inflow? Wow. Okay. For business name registration. But you know, when you want to register for procurement as a service provider, you know, some of them don't allow you to. Shoaib is here now. The grandmaster of business name registration. Okay, so if you're okay, see, thank you very much. Jonathan has found us. Hey, so clap for Nigeria. You see, clap for Nigeria. All right, so this is our limited liability, but our training heights business name registration, I think, actually has 2002 on it, if I can remember clearly. Training heights business name registration should have 2002 on it. So that's what we're using initially before I then moved to limited liability. I don't even know why we ended up moving, right? Because now they're saying that there's no, but I remember that when you want to bid. I remember that when you want to bid, and I think I also know that now, when you want to bid for work, you're not allowed to bid beyond a certain, they do them in categories, right? Okay, and this business, okay, these are business school, right? These are business school. Yeah, okay, okay. So I remember that when you want to bid for government projects or even in big organizations, I remember that when you want to bid for government projects and even in big organizations, they won't allow you bid if your organization is a business name. What are the key limitations? So everybody in the chat room, what are some of the key limitations with regards to business name registration? But I think definitely small businesses should focus on business name registration. Small businesses should focus on business name registration. Yeah, so there's some jobs that you can't bid for as a limit, as business name. There's some jobs like that. I know that. I definitely know that. That there's certain kinds of jobs that you cannot bid for with your business name registration. They won't allow you bid for those jobs. Okay. I mean, yeah. So, and I think they even grade those jobs by the amount of money involved. So I think maybe if you want to do, maybe if you want to do like a, I don't know, but I believe that maybe you want to bid for something that is definitely maybe 50 or 100 million. They won't allow you bid. A bank will not allow you bid for a job that is probably 100 million and above, maybe even 50 million and above with business name. I can imagine, I can bet. I can imagine. Okay. Richard also says that, so that you're not, yeah, so because business name, the people can put it up today and close it tomorrow, then they would have used it for the money laundering. So, right. Okay, so Labake, KYC for business name versus KYC for, does anybody know what KYC is? Let me not make an assumption. Everybody, what does KYC mean? Everybody, can you check? What is the meaning of KYC? What's the meaning of KYC? Anybody? Anybody? KYC. Okay, good, brilliant. So is there a difference between the way and the manner in which they approach KYC for business name registration versus KYC for limited liability? Is there a difference between the way KYC for business name registration is what I wanted to write? Is there a difference between KYC for business name registration versus KYC for limited liability? Is there a difference? I think one KYC should be stricter than the other. I might be wrong. I'm not a banker. I just have banks as my client. I'm not a banker. Well, Labake used to be a banker, so maybe she will know. Another terminology that is important is, everybody, what does AML mean? AML. What does that mean? And is there a difference between the way AML is done for business name registration company versus limited liability company? Is there a difference? All right. Anybody? Another key question. Why? Why do banks? Elizabeth, you should know these things. Should have an answer. Why do banks? Why do banks go through KYC and AML processes. If you're a student if you're a student with us, you should know these things. Why? So you're saying, Labake, that for business name registration, the KYC and AML processes are less stringent. Is that what you're saying? That's like, all right? Is that all right? Okay, so I've also asked a question, everybody. Why do banks go through KYC and AML processes? Why? What is the idea? What's the idea? What is the reason why banks go through these kinds of things? Okay. All right. So I hope this is clear to everybody as it works in Nigeria, also as it works in Nigeria, and also as it works in Ghana. It should be clear, because our textbook might look at it from a different perspective, because it's an American textbook and we're intentionally using an American textbook. The reason why we're using an American textbook is that all of you will be global. Somebody should say amen. All of you will be global, right? Am I right? That's why we're using an American textbook, right? All right, all of you will be global. All of you will be global. So, but because you're global does not mean you should not know how these things, how they happen in Nigeria. So you should know what obtains in Nigeria. In the US, can anybody check on ChatGPT for me? Can you do business name registration in the UK? I don't know. No, you can't. In the UK, they check. Can you do business name? They don't have anything like that in the UK. In the UK, you have to go to the company house, and you can register on company house. Can somebody look at it for me? Training nights in the UK. We're also registered in the UK. Training nights in the UK. You have to go to company house, and when you register it in the UK, what will it show to you? I think it will still show it as a limited liability company. So you have to understand that these things, they work differently in different countries and in different jurisdictions. Are we all together? They work differently in different countries and in different jurisdictions. They work differently in different countries and in different jurisdictions. Okay? If you decide that you want to become a limited liability company, how do you then move to becoming a PLC? Does anybody know? What's the difference, everybody? How do you then become a, how do you then go to become are you sure, Jimuski, the company house does, but what will come up on the certificate? It will still come up as a limited liability company. But if I had the chance, I would look for my UK, for our Training Nights UK registration document. Okay. How do you transition from a limited liability company to a PLC in Nigeria? Everybody, how do you do that? A limited liability company to a PLC. Oh, sole trader. Never tried that before. All along, I've only used the private limited liability, LTD. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I mean, thank you, Covenant. I've never tried that before. Training nights. One time when I was running it actively in the UK, it was private. Then later, they closed it down, then brought it up again. It was still private. So, all right, okay, good. Can anybody help me? Who is the regulator, or who are the regulators? How do you transition? Please take note of these things. Thank you very much. Adebayo. Adebayo says, listing of shares for sale to the public. Okay. Who's the regulator for 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 PLC and listing of shares? There are like 5 of them. I don't even know the difference between. So that should be who? Is that SEC? Is the Securities and Exchange Commission in Nigeria and Ghana, are they involved? I think I've worked for the Security Exchange Commission in Ghana also. All right. I believe so. I believe we've done some work for them. Okay. Security and Exchange Commission. So if you want to become a PLC, yeah, you have to deal with those guys. Am I right? Who else is a regulator in that particular area of work? Who else is a regulator? Who else is a regulator in that area? Okay, so Richard says yes, but there's also the part you have to go to the SEC, the Securities and Exchange, because once you start to talk about public shares, you have to go to the Security and Exchange Commission. So what's the difference? Aha, Ojo Christian, can somebody help me? NSC versus SEC, what's the difference? Anybody? NSC, thank you very much for that, Ojo Christian. Nigerian Stock Exchange versus Security Exchange Commission. What's the difference? What's the difference between what each of these entities that they do? What's the difference? Can somebody articulate this for me? Anybody? Articulate this for me. What's the difference? Maybe we should check on the website of both organizations and the Ghana equivalent. So Mustafa says, privately owned and self-regulated, but SEC maintains surveillance over it. Okay. And Mustafa, you're not really telling me the difference. What of the stock exchange? Because when I want to list as a PLC, which of them should I go to? Okay. What's the difference between regulation versus monetary? No, Shaiva, I don't think you understand. We've moved away from there. Our question is different now. Okay. What's the difference between what NSC does? Because Ojo Christian says one of them will monitor, the other one will regulate. What's the difference? Monitoring and regulation. Tell me. Can somebody help me? Elizabeth, are you here? Labake, you should know these things. Wumi, are you here? What is the difference? If I want to become a PLC, what business do I have with the stock exchange? And what business do I have with the Security Exchange Commission? It seems I have business with both of them. So that means I don't really have a lot of business with SEC, is what you're saying, Richard, except talking about investments. Maybe if I'm investing for companies like an asset management company. So for public shares, it is NSE, Nigerian Stock Exchange. Am I right? So once I want to become a PLC, everybody, so let's go to the Nigerian Stock Exchange. What's the equivalent of the Nigerian Stock Exchange in Ghana? Richard, what's the equivalent of the Nigerian Stock Exchange in Ghana? What's the equivalent of the Nigerian Stock Exchange in Ghana? That means everybody that is a PLC, automatically you have a business with the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Everybody. Once you become a PLC, that means you have business. Okay, GSC. Yeah, okay, the Ghana Stock Exchange. Yes. Okay, I think they're the ones, GSE, Ghana Stock Exchange. and the NSC, Nigerian Stock Exchange. That means all PLCs must be listed with these entities. Am I right? All PLCs must be listed with these two entities. Right, right, right. Okay, so that's very important. So everybody, that means there will be a set of requirements from both CAC and even from the NSC slash GSC. There will be a set of requirements from both organizations if you want to become a PLC. Am I right? There will be a set of requirements from both organizations. So both the OGC in Ghana, CAC in Nigeria, NGC, if you want to become a PLC. It's not easy or straightforward to become a PLC. It's not easy or straightforward to become a PLC. It's a bit tough. It's a bit tough. In fact, every time people say, oh, you know, share allocation, I want to buy into the shares, that's a topic we're going to deal with at some point in time. But it's not easy. Neither is it straightforward to understand these things, but we're going to try to break them down for you somewhere inside of this training. Somewhere inside of this training, we're going to break them down for you. Okay, good. If you want to register a not-for-profit in Nigeria, how do you do that? All right, how and how, what is the criteria? Also, the requirements. Does anybody know? In Ghana and in Nigeria, not-for-profit, how do you go about it? How do you go about it? What is the criteria and the requirements for it? Can people answer me? Can you give me some thoughts in the chat room? Everybody, if you want to register a not-for-profit, I know we had to register. I know we had to register Transformation College as a not-for-profit at some point in time. As a not-for-profit, how do we go about it? And what is the criteria? And what exactly are the requirements? Anybody? A not-for-profit. So in Ghana, you have to also go to the association of that is in charge of social welfare, right? Okay. What does 5 years mean? Rick, I don't understand what you're saying. Name of DOT must be at least 5 years. The name of the entity? What does that mean? What is the point you're trying to make? Others, quickly. What's the answer? Elizabeth, Lavake, who else is on the call? Anybody? Because not-for-profit is a thing. Are we together? Not-for-profit is a thing, an NGO. All right, another question that I have, please, I want everybody to answer me. Another question that I have, what's the difference between NGO, covenant, tell me, versus not-for-profit? Are they the same? Are they the same? NGO versus not-for-profit, are they the same? Oh, okay. All right, BOD. Okay, and the secretary. No, but there's some requirements when you go to, because we had a lot of requirements that they gave to us when we wanted to register as a not-for-profit. Aha, so somebody tell me. Right, so you can see that Shuaib, who partially works for CAC, he has his part-time job with PS, with CAC. He's giving us the answers that we need. Okay. So what's the difference? Non-governmental, yes. Is there a real, can anybody check for me? What's the difference between not-for-profit versus non-governmental organization? What is the difference? In very clear and precise terms. So Richard, now you're saying that non-governmental social intervention, but most not-for-profits too are for social interventions. Most not-for-profit too, they're for social interventions. Most not-for-profit, they're also for social intervention. Okay? Which one is broader than the other? Labake, you haven't said now, just say one is broader than the other. The NGO is part of non-profit. Do we agree? I don't think so, Labake. I don't think so. I'm not sure I agree with you. I'm not sure I agree. Okay. Yeah, but what's the difference? I agree with you, Jonathan, but what is the difference? What is the difference? Okay. Is that not for profit? Make some profit to break even. Richard, I'm not sure. Are you serious? That even the NGOs are trying to break even. Even the NGOs are trying to break even. Even the NGOs are trying to break even. Mustafa says, okay, not for profit are smaller. Okay, okay, I like this. Well, NGO may receive even government funding. I like what Mustafa has said. Deisha, you have complicated this. So, eh? Okay. All NGOs are not for profit, but not all not for profit are NGOs. Okay. All right. And not for profit serve general community purposes, a larger society and advocacy. Now I get what you mean. Now I get what you mean. Now I get what you mean. All right. Good. Okay. I think that's good. So I hope everybody is following. I hope you're following what it is that we are doing right now. I really hope you're following us. I hope you're following what it is that we are doing. I think one more thing before I go to my slides is, what does a franchise mean? Anybody? Yes, Transformation College is not for profit, absolutely. We're not an, so we should call ourselves properly. We're really not an NGO. We're actually a not for profit. Right. I agree with you. Mostly, I completely agree with you. Okay, that's fine. Let us. So, what's a franchise? Which food? Which franchises? Which South African franchises do we have in Nigeria? Everybody in the chat room, what is a franchise and which South African franchises or American ones? Everybody, I want everybody to tell me a franchise that they know. I want everybody to tell me a particular franchise that they know. And also, what is the meaning of a franchise? And I want everybody to tell me a certain franchise that they know. ShopRite, right? KFC, good. Domino's, MTN. MTN Nigeria is a franchise that is now bigger than the head office. MTN in Nigeria is a franchise that is now bigger than the head office in itself, right? So there are all sorts. Burger King is from where? Burger King is from where? Does anybody know? Is that American? Is there a UK franchise? Is there a United Kingdom franchise in Nigeria? Anybody? What don't worry, anybody? What's the difference between a franchise versus a branch? Everybody. Franchise versus a branch. A branch of that organization. What's the difference? Franchise versus a branch. A branch is right. A branch. So is MTN a franchise or a branch? Aha. Is Guinness in Nigeria or Diageo, is that a franchise or a branch? Because we have to be able to tell the difference between. No, so I don't agree that Guinness, Bailey, some of these entities that they're a franchise. No, branch. Check what I wrote, branch. So a franchise versus a branch of the company. So like now, my mom used to work for Cadbury, and Cadbury Nigeria is not a franchise. It's actually a branch of Cadbury in the United Kingdom. Exactly. Thank you very much, Adebayo. So Cadbury is not a franchise. It is a branch of the one in the United Kingdom. But ShopRite is most likely a franchise. MTN is a branch. Thank you very much. It's a branch because it still reports to South Africa. It's not a franchise. It's actually a branch. Absolutely. However, the likes of KFC, that will be a franchise. DSTV in Nigeria, I don't know their operating model. I actually don't. So I'm not sure if DSTV is a branch or a franchise, but I think you might be right. It's actually a branch, I believe so, not a franchise. So I think it's important that all of us, that we can draw the line between what is a franchise and what is a branch, so that we don't mix them up, so that we don't assume that they are the same. Exactly. EcoBank, they're all just branches of EcoBank. They're all just branches. Those EcoBank entities, they are not, those EcoBank entities, they're not, what do they call them? They're not a, they're not a franchise. EcoBank, GTBank in all the countries, GTBank is in about 10 countries, UBA is in about 20 countries. All of them, it's not a branch. They are not branches. I'm sorry, they are not franchises, they are branches. Sorry, I take that back. They're not franchises, they are branches. So I think everybody, Mustafa, yes, Training Night and A4S in Ghana, they're not a franchise, so they're a branch. As I said, me, one leg of my body is there. So we should know the difference between a franchise versus a branch. Okay. All right. Two more things, and we'll go on a short break. All right. Globalcom is not a franchise. No, Globalcom, Baba, Chairman will never do franchise with anybody. Right? Chairman of the Globalcom will never do franchise with anybody. Okay, so the next one, everybody, what is the difference between a merger versus an acquisition? Elizabeth, tell me in the chat room, everybody, what is the difference between a merger? And tell me some successful mergers. What's the difference? between a merger and an acquisition. Then tell me some successful mergers in Nigeria or Ghana. And then also tell me some non-successful. I hope all of you are in the chat room. Some non-successful mergers in Nigeria and Ghana. But before you tell me about the successful and the non-successful ones, I need us to clearly differentiate between what is a merger versus an acquisition. What is a merger versus an acquisition? Okay. Mobolaji says two companies should become one. Okay. Okay. So somebody says, Mobolaji says two companies to become one. Two equal, but the companies can never be equal, Mustafa. So are two companies ever equal? The two companies that come together to make a merger, are they ever equal? You know, the line is very thin, right? Between, so if two companies are never equal, right? So there's never anything called 50-50. It might be 55-45. It might be 60-40. Okay, I like what Ojo Christian has said here. But in a case, okay, in the case where one company is 60% in strength, right? One company is 60% in strength, and the other one is 40%. Because they're never equal. Can it still be considered a merger? One company is 60% in strength, 60% in strength, and the other company in strength, and the other company is 40% in strength. Can it still be considered? No, but that's what I'm saying, Richard, right? It can never be 50-50. Richard, it is impossible for it to be 50-50. It is not possible. Okay, I like what I don't agree, but I like what Richard said. Richard here says merger is a partnership, right? That means maybe on the board, controlling shares, those kinds of things. They have equal rights on the board and things like that. Am I right? While acquisition is complete control. That means when it comes to ownership and even votes on the board, and they are not the same. I like what Richard said. Covenant, I don't really think it's about this. I mean, okay, so I like what Mobolaji said that, 60-40 is still a merger. I like that. Mobolaji says that 60-40 is still a merger, and I agree. But I like what Richard had said, that it's really about, I think one of those clear areas will be voting rights. Am I right? On the board. Voting rights on the board. And what else? Where are the differences? The percentage of ownership, the percentage of shares. But when it's an acquisition, the other company goes to almost minimal. Like, I think for most acquisitions, the acquired entity for most, and everybody, you can check this, for most acquisitions, the acquired entity cannot have more than 30%. What do you think? I think for most acquisitions, the acquired entity cannot have more than 30% of the new company. All right? Well, the new, yeah. I think so. What would be a great percentage? So one entity has acquired another, acquired, not merged. The entity that has been acquired will typically only own maybe between what we can say 1% to what? 1% to 30% at the most. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Is 30 too much for acquired? It's possible. 25%, 30. Yeah, so yeah, Richard, so yes. Yeah, so what's the English for them? The acquired or the acquisee or what is the right English? The entity acquiring is called what? The entity acquiring is called what? The entity being acquired is called what? The entity being acquired is called what? The entity acquiring, all right? What's the English word? Does anybody know? What's ChatGPT saying? Okay, which one is the acquirer? Okay, the acquirer is the entity that is acquiring. What about the one being acquired? The acquirer is the one that is acquiring. What about the one that is being acquired? What's that one called? Acquiree. I like the acquirer, right? Versus the acquiree. Yes, please, everybody, you should learn this. The acquirer versus the acquiree. I like that. The acquirer versus the acquiree. The acquirer versus the acquiree. I like it. Brilliant. Okay. So my last question, and we're going to go on break on a short break now. Why do partnerships fail in Africa? Why do mergers and acquisitions fail in Africa. Why? Why do these things fail? Why? Why is it that two friends, on the average, two or three friends, or three friends who form a partnership, why do they end up succeeding? Why did they end up quarreling, fighting, quarreling? Okay. Why? Why? Why do partnerships fail? Wow. Namola says legal uncertainty, transparency, or is that I don't even know who it is. Edith. Mustafa says,
Damola, sir.
okay, Zamola, right? Okay. Mustafa says financial disputes, communication breakdown, death. Yes, I mean, no. So, Audrey Christian, that will be that death will lead to the failure of the entire entity in itself. Okay, Covenant says poor communication. I agree with you. Conflict resolution. I agree with you. Covenant, I completely agree. Clear goals and expectations from both sides. Am I right? Yes, Damola is right. Due diligence for mergers, overvaluation. Yes, you're right. The people have lied as part of the due diligence. Culture is also an issue. But how come, when it comes to partnerships, how come law firms and accounting firms, they work out? But think for startups, don't. Startups, why is it that startups usually have their founders breaking up? Why? How come partnerships? How come, I mean, law firms and accounting firms, they successfully do this? They successfully do it. Law firms and accounting firms, they succeed when it comes to these things. They usually form very strong, but startups struggle. Why? Does anybody know? Does anybody have any experience why this is? I mean, because one of the problems that a lot of startups have is their founders, they fight, they quarrel, they go their separate ways. And then the product disappears, everything scatters, the whole thing becomes a problem. The whole thing becomes a problem. Why? Why is it that startups are synonymous with these kinds of things? Namala says disagreement, vision alignment, unequal workload. I like that. Namala, I like your answers. I like that. Personality clashes. Very strong things that Damola said here. Very strong things. Esther. Wow, Esther Saba. You should explain this. I like this point you just made. You said there is no diversity in skills and potential. I don't agree. In a law firm, sometimes some of them are financial experts. Some of them are good when it comes to litigation. Some of them, do you watch Suits? Suits is one of my, or used to be one of my best series. If you watch Suits, you see that, Lewis Litz had his own area of competence. Harvey had his own area of competence. Jessica, Mike. So I don't agree that they don't have diversity in their skill sets. I don't understand, Richard. Now, what did you say here? The skill to conduct due diligence. That might be something that applies to startups. Law firms and accounting firms are experts in conducting due diligence. I don't understand. Due diligence is their job. Due diligence is their job. Okay, Felicia says corporate culture, work environment. Okay, so Felicia, we moved from the big mergers and acquisitions. We're talking about partnerships. One guy who knows how to build software, another guy who supposedly is very good with marketing and sales. They come together, they form a fintech. 2 years after, 3 years after, the fintech has collapsed. Software developer has gone his way. Business guy has gone to look for another software developer. Why is that rampant with fintechs and startups? Why? Why is that a thing? Why do partnerships fail? Why do partnerships fail? And how come law firms and accounting firms are successful with these same things? How come? Our class is in the chat room, everybody. So I hope you all are in the chat room. Our entire class is in the chat room, at least for this session. So I hope you're not staring at the old slide that I put up there since I've been in the chat room. My chat room has been my main screen all along. I've been in the chat room. I like to read from people. It allows me to know where, if the people are following and if I'm making sense. So, okay. So we're talking about two individuals now, Mobalaji. I'm talking about individuals that come up to form a fintech. Why do they go their separate ways? Why? Why is it that if two lawyers come together or two accountants come together, they will most likely succeed in a partnership than when two fintech founders? Margaret is on the call. Margaret, go to the chat room. Why is it that lawyers can easily form, because lawyers have firms. Lawyers have firms, accounting firm, we also call them legal firm, accounting firm. Those firms, why is it that firms succeed in partnership while normal startups struggle? Why do firms succeed while normal startups, normal businesses struggle to form successful partnerships? One of the things I think Damola said before now is, I think the one was talking about unequal workloads. You know, it's almost like when, what's that local balance? They say monkey, they do it, monkey they work. And baboon, they chop. one person seems to be providing more value and results than the other person. I think that would be one of the reasons. I think so. Irrespective, Margaret, irrespective of agreements that they draft. We're talking about, no, we're not, I mean, irrespective of agreements. You know, I mean, I've seen this happen. The developer just says he's not doing again. And you can't beat him to develop the software. So I want the lead developer says he's not doing, that's the end of fintech. Am I right? So usually the lead developer in fintech, maybe somebody should check. Why do we end up having once the lead developer says if the lead developer believes he is adding more value than the maybe the business guy, business or operations guy, operations founder. So that's what happens. He believes he's adding more value than the business or operations founder. Then there's a problem. Or the business or operations founder, the business or operations founder believes the lead developer is just hosting and not doing much. These are the kinds of things that I've seen that is usually the cause of rancor. Okay, I like what Felicia said. Law and accounting firms, the partnership because you know, time-tested models, clear agreements, governance, financial stability. Said fintechs and startups fail due to uncertain business models, poor governance, equity disputes. Yes, that's what I just put in here, and rapid scaling pressures. Right. Right. So I think these are the issues. Isn't that what they say on Instagram? Because these are the issues. These are the issues. Today is Shuaib's birthday. Hey. Afiz, you should drop it. This is picture and his banner. Drop it in the chat room for us. Mr. Shuaib. Congratulations. Big congratulations. Many more years. So you should be throwing a party for us today. We should come to you to eat. Anyways, everybody, today we've said a lot in this initial session. We talked about can somebody is it easy to succeed as a sole proprietor? As a sole proprietor. Can you succeed as a sole proprietor? Is it possible to succeed in modern day? There's a brilliant book all of you should try to read. And maybe you should even go into, what's that thing? Into your ChatGPT and tell it to summarize the book called $1 Million Consulting. Everybody go and look for that book, $1 Million Consulting, by a guy called Alan Wise. It's not Wise, it's Wise, I think. Hey, Shoaib, see your cake, plenty. Please throw it again, so let me catch one. Throw the cake again. You can succeed if you can. If there's Africa is in Africa, we're poor at outsourcing. I hope you all know that. Poor outsourcing culture in Africa. We have poor outsourcing culture. Because you can succeed. The Americans believe that you can outsource accounting. Am I right? Outsource HR. Outsource the delivery. Outsource procurement. Hey, see Keiko. Let me catch one of these cakes so that I can eat it during break. I can eat one of the cakes. So Africa has a poor outsourcing culture. In Africa, every time you outsource, you find out that the person you outsource to is doing a poor job. Why? Why is it like that? Meanwhile, in America, a lot of people, Richard, you mean in America? In Africa, we don't outsource a lot. Thank you. I've cut my cake now, right? In Africa, we have a poor outsourcing culture. We try to do everything internally. People want to have that's why cloud has not taken up the way it should. Because in Africa, we have a really poor outsourcing culture. Why? Everybody that is on the call, let me look for some people that have not said anything since they've been here. Elizabeth has said only one thing. Jonathan has been speaking. Amos has not said anything. Adewumi has not said anything. I'm not sure about Blessing. Okay? Why do we have this poor outsourcing culture in Africa? TY, why? Everybody, please go to the chat room. Tell me. Why is it that in Africa, that's why cloud has not taken off. We want to do everything by ourselves. We want to, okay, so yeah, Ojo is talking about where you go and outsource to somebody, then the person will now go to the client and say, I'm the one that has been doing the work. Ojo, that's what you mean, right? When you outsource, then the person will now go to the client and tell them, don't give the work to that guy any longer. Okay, so I'm talking about I'm talking about I'm talking about business process outsourcing. You know, as I said, around the world, that's why the cloud, Africa has the lowest cloud uptake in the world. Because people still want to build their own data center everywhere around the world. Data centers, we have what we call outsourced data centers. Am I right? People are not really building. You also have outsourced call centers. Am I right? You also have outsourced security operations centers. People outsource a lot globally. With Africa, our plan is to do everything. I think one of it is quality. Usually in Africa, people just find out that once you outsource, it's almost like your quality drops. Once you outsource, it's pretty much like the quality drops, in a sense. Why are we anti-outsourcing in Africa? Maybe somebody should put it in ChatGPT. Why is outsourcing not very successful? You know, people also do what they call, and I hope you're writing these things down, business process outsourcing. Business process outsourcing. Globally, this is a trend. In Africa, not really. Just like, when it comes to physical security, globally, everybody uses outsourced physical security. Do you know that most banks in Africa now, Nigeria, Ghana, they now have their own security company, maybe run by the MD's wife or chairman's wife or something. Why? Why are we like this in Africa? Why? 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 Why are we like this? Hmm? Why are we like this? Everybody. Yeah? Why? Because because outsourcing is something that is working globally. But in Africa, it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge. Why? Go to everywhere around the world, they've made a practice of outsourcing. There is an outsourcing model, there's an outsourcing guide. Do you know that a lot of banks have, in fact, I'm working for a company now that is a bank. They have their own IT company registered under a separate name, providing IT services to the bank because they don't want to outsource. Why? So maybe somebody should write a paper or do some research. Why? Maybe you should put it online. Why is Africa anti-outsourcing? Outsourcing is not in our DNA in Africa. We always want to do everything ourselves. Why is Africa anti-outsourcing? Why? Why are we like this? Huh? Richard says we like cutting corners. Oja says professionalism. Yes, Oja, I agree with you. The person you're outsourcing to will now not have your time, will deliver the work badly, will deliver the work late. I agree with you. Richard now says, to keep the money is internally, to keep it within your circle. Anyone says because we want to keep all the money to ourselves. Beisha says, many businesses prefer to keep work in-house. Sometimes, yes, fraud. Okay, sometimes, yes. Like, you have a lawyer, and then the lawyer does poor work for you, and you're paying the lawyer. Then you now look at it and you say, why am I even paying this guy 2 million naira per annum for this rubbish work that he's doing? Let me go and hire somebody, get a lawyer at 200K per month, and at least I will be guaranteed of the results that I'm going to get. Okay. 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 People want to control their value chain, Rick says. Right. I agree. It's almost like we want to control it end to end. Okay. Quality of service is definitely a concern. Even the person you outsource the washing and the ironing of your clothes, the clothes might get missing. They'll bring back some of the clothes, they'll be burnt. Some of them will be stained. The clothes will end up looking worse than when you sent it to them. I agree. That is ordinary. That's just outsourcing the washing and the ironing of your clothes. I agree. I agree. These are all, and I'm just remembering the guy that washes my clothes and what I get from him. Right? So I've outsourced that, and I get very poor quality from it. Anyways, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much. It's definitely been a great conversation this first half of the class. It's been great. I definitely have enjoyed speaking to everybody. I think it's time. So today, I mean, we've said a lot. If you can go into the chat room, if Damala can take everything that we've said in the chat room, we have said a lot. We have done a lot already. So everybody, you deserve a round of applause. Please give yourselves, please, quickly. Damala, throw us, not cake this time, but throw us whatever it is you're going to throw, a clap, all right? Everybody, you deserve a decent round of applause. There's a lot that we have done today. We've talked about registering with OGC in Ghana and CAC in Nigeria. We've talked about business name registration. We've talked about sole proprietorship. All right, that book, $1 Million Consulting, is saying that you can be a $1 million consultant in the US. I'm not sure he was saying globally, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. Nigeria is different. But he was looking at it that you can outsource a lot of things. You can outsource your HR, you can outsource many things. That's not very common around here. They've looked about partnerships. How do you form partnerships? Why do they succeed? Why do some of them struggle? Why? Why do these things happen? We've also talked about partnerships. We've talked about limited liability companies. Talked about limited liability. We've talked about becoming a PLC. What does it mean to become a PLC? We've compared the stock exchange with the Security Exchange Commission. The stock exchange, once you want to become a PLC, you're governed by them. And then if you're somebody that is like a stockbroker or an asset fund manager, you'll be managed by the SEC, Security Exchange Commission. We've talked about franchises. Why do they work? Why don't they work? Is there an advantage? Everybody, is there an advantage to going to take a franchise? Why do franchises? I wanted to do in those days. I remember I wanted to take a franchise from NIT, and they gave me the terms and the conditions and every other thing. What I had to invest, I looked at it that nah, this is not going to work for me. So please, maybe everybody in the chat room, what are the advantages and disadvantages of a franchise? So we talked about that. We talked about mergers and acquisitions. Why do they work? Why do they fail sometimes? What are some of the issues and the challenges with mergers and with acquisitions? Should you merge? What is the criteria for a merger? What is the criteria for an acquisition? Are they the same? Can one be equal to the other? Talked about that today. Okay. And then I think I ended the conversation. We talked about why do founders and partners, why did they fight? We've even learned about the acquirer and the acquiree. We've also seen the difference between a franchise versus a branch. There's a lot that we have done. And then we've talked about outsourcing. Why are we Africans, Nigerians, Ghanaians, why are we poor with outsourcing? Okay. Right. So big well done, everyone. Big well done. Big well done, as it is. So let us go away for exactly 35 minutes. Let us go away for exactly 35 minutes. And then we will come back and we will round up in about an hour when we're back. Are we good? Please, I want you all to come back so that we can still take this conversation further. But thank you all very much for your participation in this class. Otherwise, I would have been speaking to myself. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you all. See you in exactly 34 minutes. I'll see you all in 34 minutes. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. All right, people. All right. Good, good, good. Once again, it's great to have everybody here. My plan is to get you out of here in about an hour thereabouts. So we will do this and we will do it very quickly. Um, so if I get on with this, okay, okay, good. So once again, I hope a lot of you, I mean, one way or the other, Damala, maybe we should put Mercy, maybe we should put this book on a drive somewhere, or maybe on OneDrive or Google Drive or something, so that people can download the book, especially if you've been able to extract the chapters for this semester. So it'll be useful if people have the book uh, themselves. If I'm seated in this class as one of the participants, the thing that I'm wondering is how will I use these things in my business knowledge? So if I'm Elizabeth that is here, or if any of the people that are in this room, what's the use of this kind of knowledge? Jonathan, Joseph that has joined us, Margaret, Mustafa, any of the great people, Shoaib, that are here. How is it that it's useful so that you will know? Maybe you want to advise your wife, advise your husband. Maybe some organizations are going to call you onto their board. Maybe you have friends that you're able to advise in terms of what they should or should not do relative to starting a business. As I said, next week we're going to look at why startups fail, why do startups do well, and why do some of them fail? What are the issues and the challenges that startups face, and how can they overcome those challenges as it is? So, yeah, that definitely will be an interesting session next week. So please get people on the call. So we looked at everything that is here as it is, sole proprietorship, partnership, limited liability, a corporate structure, going PLC, the advantages, the disadvantages of each of these things. Also the concept of a franchise, and we even took it further. We looked at a franchise versus having a branch, and we looked at mergers and acquisitions, and then where is the world going relative to these things? What are the next steps? Where is this entire world? Where are we going? What are we going to see? In 40 years ago, everybody wanted to start a business and start on their own, but that didn't work out for a lot of people. Then later, people started fighting about partnerships, and now people are looking to do more limited liability companies so that they will be better structured. So there's really not much of a choice. Organizations have to improve. As an organization, you have to improve. You have to get better. You can't afford that. People are raising, I mean, even during this quick break, I was looking at some lady, they were talking about a company. Looking at a company on Instagram. Let me see whether I can find the company. And they were talking about that she's the number one company in Nigeria. Maybe somebody can help me check online. She's the number one company in Nigeria when it comes to dry food. The export of dry food in Nigeria. Okay, the export of dry food. Is it ATL something like that? I saw it while we were on. I saw it while we were on break. Okay, so maybe somebody should help me look at the startup in Nigeria that exports dry food. Maybe you should find it. So now organizations have to be better structured. There's no point. I was having a conversation with my wife some weeks ago, and we're talking about what's the difference between when you're running a business for it to make revenue, for it to be profitable, and for it to scale versus you're just running the business as a hobby. I want everybody that is here that is involved with either running their own business or they join somebody or they're supporting somebody. I want you all to be able to run a successful business. So please, that's very important. So please help me look for it. Maybe Damala, what's the name of the company? They said they raised $3 million. So that's probably one of the things. If I get the chance next week, if I find somebody who's going to speak to us for 30 minutes about how do you raise capital, how do you raise funds, all these people that go to raise 500K, $1 million, whatever amount of money, where do they raise these funds from? How do they raise these funds? So anybody on the call, if you know somebody who's successful, who has successfully raised startup funds, right? You can, I mean, you can let us know. We would like to bring one or two people to spice up our class next week. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship. It's a big deal next week. We'll bring in some people who talk about challenges with entrepreneurship, what you need to understand with entrepreneurship, and even more importantly, how can a startup scale, right? How can a startup, how can they do well, right? How can they raise funds? How can startups get better? You should please help me look for that company. I think the name of the company starts with E,
So is it
right?
real fruits?
Sorry?
Is it real fruits? That's the name of the company that raised $3
Yes,
million.
yes, but that really spelled somehow, right? I think yes, so I think so.
I typed it on the comment on the chat.
In the chat room, let me see. Yes, I think they're the one. Maybe you should put their website here. I think some light complexion lady, like is the am I right? She's the founder. What's the name of the founder? Who's the founder? Who's the founder of that real fruit? Mm. No, it's not sack fruit. It's not sack fruit. I think it's the real fruit. Who's the founder of real fruit? It's not sack fruit. Mm. So Messi, maybe what we should try to do, let's see if we can bring in, one or two entrepreneurs. I definitely want somebody who, yes, I think is Alfian Williams. Yes, I think so. Yes, you know, maybe you should drop their website of their. I'm sure their story somewhere. They raised $3 million. Um, she's exporting dry fruit. It's important that we run successful businesses. Everybody that is here, either you're the founder of the business, or you've joined an existing business. But it's important that we run successful businesses. Businesses cost a lot of money, cost a lot of investment, financial investment, emotional investment, mental investment, physical investment. I've been running the business for about 25 years. I know what it costs. It's a lot of risk, it's a lot of investment in your time, in your energy, and things like that. So you and I, we need to ensure we know what we need to know so that our business can be successful. I don't think anybody plans to go into business so that they will be unsuccessful. So whether you're the founder or you work in an existing one, your job is to learn everything that we're doing inside of this entrepreneurship and business management class to the point where you can either support an existing one, or you can at least be successful in the one that you've decided to run. All right. It's not enough for you and I to just run a business. It's important that we run a successful business. And I hope that, from being involved with this training, everything you're going to be learning, that you will be in a position to be able to run a successful business. You're able to look at your business, not with an emotional lens, because that's very important. You're able to look at the business not with an emotional lens, but to really look at it and say that what do I need to know? What do I need to do to ensure that this business is successful? We need to run successful businesses, everyone. So, and of course, at the very beginning of running a successful business is for you to even decide on what type of company formation do you want. So that's very important. That's why we've been having all the conversations that we've had today. So, I mean, thank you very much, Damola. Damola has put the real fruit story. Everybody, you can click on it. I mean, this is a lady who, started, usually I mean, and then she will tell you about the number of banks and number of places that she went to try and see if she can get funding, and then people will shut her. Thank you very much for this, Damola. It'll be great, everybody. So if you go into the chat room, you can click on it. Our story. I want you to run successful businesses. That's why we're doing entrepreneurship and business management. How can your business be successful? And of course, at the very beginning of the whole thing is you just ensuring that you do the right formation. I've spoken about this. I won't talk about this any longer. So you have to think about which of this is going to work. How is this going to work? If you're going to have a partnership, how do you ensure that your partnership is going to work? If you're going to have sole proprietorship, Margaret said something in the chat room the other time. So make sure that you have clearly documented agreements, so that the expectations are clear. As I've said, I've also been involved with some of these kinds of things. I've gotten a partner before where the things did not work out. It's always because, the expectations are not aligned. I'm a long-term person. For me, I'm wired to be long-term. So that means if I'm not making a profit, or if things don't look like they're going well in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8, year 9, year 10, I'm willing to be inside of the thing for the long haul. That's my personality. So, but while others, some people, if something is not going well in year 1, there's going to be a problem. They want their kids to go to a certain kind of school. If you're not making the kind of profits in 2 years that they'll just leave the work and go take up a job. So I've been in such situations where the people I'm dealing with, the people I'm talking to, they're people who they're only interested in the short term. It's not their fault. They have school fees. They want to live in a certain kind of house. I'm willing to live in Abeokuta until my business takes off. Some people are not willing to do that. I'm willing that my kids will go to not the sophisticated schools. So if I end up partnering with somebody who is thinking that, oh, this business is going to make it and do well in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, we're going to have misaligned expectations. I'm in it for the long term. Most people are in it for the short term. So if it's not looking good, they have an alternative. I don't have an alternative. I close the door onto other alternatives. I'm not going to do anything apart from this business, and I'm going to ensure that it succeeds. So you have to ensure that if you ever do get involved with partnerships, you understand what you're doing. Even when it comes to limited liability, that can in itself can be a partnership. You can bring 2, 3, 4 people, and so both of you might need to agree and get a lawyer on day one. I know it sounds somehow. How can 2 people who have decided to do business, why would they be? Why is it a lawyer that they're going to be thinking about on day one? But that's important that it happens that way, so that things are very clear, expectations are very clear, responsibilities. The developer is building the application, but the business development person, the salesperson, is unable to bring the sales. Then the developer looks at it that, dude, we agreed I will build, you will bring the sales. I have built, no sales, right? And then the sales guy is saying that, dude, see, the market is difficult. Then it looks as if, one person is telling stories while the other one is getting the work done. So everybody, which one do you think is easier, right? Which one is easier? You have you've got 2 founders or partners. One of them is in charge of bringing sales. The other one is in charge of delivering the product, all right? Which is who has a harder job? Everybody in the chat room, quickly, let me hear. Who's got the harder job to do? Real fruit, yes. Thank you for this. Everybody, who's got the harder job? Two founders. One is to build the product. The other one is to build the market. Who's got a harder job in Nigeria? Anybody? Quickly, everybody in the chat room. Who's got the harder job to do? The one that is meant to bring the business or build the market, or the one that is meant to build the product? The one building the market? Anybody? Building the market, which is another name for sales, versus building the product, all right? Which is harder in Nigeria? In Nigeria, Richard says the sale. Let me hear from others quickly, everybody, which is harder. So you see, imagine if, everybody quickly, Elizabeth, are you here? So imagine the kind of situation whereby the product guy looks at it to say that I'm the developer, I built the product, we agreed that I will build the product, and the product I built, all right? It could be the app developer, it could be the whatever that thing is. But this is usually where the problem is, am I right? The market versus the developer, right? I didn't want to the sales. Right? Yes, in Nigeria, because everybody. I mean, I've taught this in this class. The sale definitely sales is a bigger challenge, and that's why sole proprietorship also does not work. Everybody, did you hear that? That is also sole proprietorship. That's why it also does not work sometimes. That's also why sole proprietorship does not work sometimes. Everybody, are you with me? Sole proprietorship, because usually, right, the sole proprietor guy might be the guy who is a great developer, but he can't sell. So the developer, the product developer, all right, the product developer thinks the sales or business development person is not doing much. It will say that after all, I built the product. The sales person, the business person says there are many alternatives to the product. It is the person who's able to convince others that really matters. Convincing people to buy is what matters, is the real deal. So who is right? Who's right? Who's right? So these are the reasons why, so, but you also cannot do it all by, you can't do it by yourself. So the possibility that if you're a sole proprietor, you're going to succeed, it's very, it's difficult. It is very difficult for you to succeed. But that's why it's important that you really understand the forms of business, the advantages, the disadvantages of each of them. You only will not need to know them because of the classroom or because of your test and your exam. You also need to know these things in life. Are we together? You also need to know these things in life, which is useful. Why is it useful? When is it useful? Do you understand? You will also need to know these things in life, okay? So partnership is it's good for you to get a partner. What does the Bible say? One can chase how many? And then two can chase what? Can somebody tell us? What does the Bible say? That, it's like marriage, isn't it? Right? If you get married right, one will chase how many? Can anybody help me complete it in the chat room? And then two will chase how many? That's the truth. It is the God honest truth. One can chase 1,000 and two can chase 10,000. It's like in marriage. If you get married right, this should be your result. Do you understand that? If you get married right, this should be your result. If you get partnership right, that will be your result. That both of the partnership, you can chase 10,000 in multiples if you get it right. But only if you get it right. Only if you get it right. And there's no guarantee you're going to get it right. Only if you get it right. And there's no guarantee you're going to get it right. So this is important. This is essential. One can change 1,000. So you have to really think about it. How is this going to work? So you can see here, partnership is not easy. It's not straightforward. It's almost like, you need what I can almost call divine partnership. Almost like what you call divine, because partnership also means that strength versus weakness. But the other guy might be a party goer. The guy who wants to go out every day, meet people, go to the club, go for conferences. He's the talkative. He will gist with people everywhere. Okay? So these things, once again, these things are very important that you get partnership right. Now you just don't say that, oh, because it's your brother or because it's your church member or because you guys went to secondary school together or you went to university together. That's not how you form partnerships. You have to have very clear agreements among yourselves as it is. So who's the sole proprietor? We've talked about this. We talked about this. The guy who believes he can get everything done all by himself and alone. The guy who believes he can get everything done by himself and alone. But of course, sole proprietorship does not also mean that he will not hire people. He can hire employees, he can hire staff, and he can also outsource. He can also outsource. So that definitely is is an option as it is. When you want to register a company, there's a word we call the memorandum of what's it called? The memorandum of association, articles of incorporation. You have to write what your company does, right? So who are the owners? So there are many documents. I'm not sure whether some of those documents are available on the OGC or even on the CAC website. And Richard, can you help me check the list of requirements to register a company? Are they available? Are they online? The list of requirements to register a company. List of requirements to register a company. Okay. So these are very important things that you might want to know and understand. Okay. So what's the difference? Stockholder, not everybody, stockholders, sometimes stockholders are also directors and sometimes they're different. But the stockholders, they elect the directors hire the executives and other people in the organization. This is a useful diagram, everybody. This is a useful diagram. So sometimes it's the same people that are the stockholders, the directors, and even top management. Sometimes there's a difference. So when all the banks in Nigeria were selling shares, automatically you and I, we're stockholders. And we should go for annual general meeting, the AGM. So we then elect directors. And then the directors will then hire some of these people. You also have executive versus non-executive directors. Can you help me drop something that talks about the types of directors in the chat room? So Damola, can you give me, I want an image of the responsibilities of directors versus non-executive. There's even another one they call independent director, the independent executive director. What are the differences? Does anybody know the types of directors? The types of directors. So does anybody know? Can you help me check? You have an executive director, you have a non-executive director, you also have like an independent executive director. What's the difference? What's the difference between these three entities? Executive, non-executive. Executive has day-to-day responsibilities, is paid a salary. Non-executive does not have day-to-day responsibilities, is not on payroll, probably gets some allowances here and there. Then independent, non-executive. Come on, guys, quickly, give me some answers. Give me some quick answers, everyone. Give me some answers quickly. All right. Okay. So Shuaib has put the requirements to register a company in the chat room. Where's Covenant? Covenant, where are you? Okay, Afiz has put even something that people can download that tells you about the requirements to register a company. So I was asking, what's the difference between the different types of directors? Does anybody know? Executive, non-executive, independent, non-executive. Does anybody know those types of directors? Does anybody know? Anybody? The active ones, director, the non-active, non-executive, and then the independent, which the number, so sometimes, it's not all the time that you have independent non-executive, but they bring them in because, yes, absolutely, Saba, you're right. Esther, you're right. And then we have non-executive directors, and then we have independent non-executive directors. So various types of directors, yes, yes, independent, exactly, no material financial relationship. So you, because sometimes those non-executive directors, they are shareholders, do you understand? So they are non-executive directors, but they're also shareholders. But when they say non-exec, independent, independent director, when they say independent, the person is usually not a shareholder in the organization. So these are important things. We just got our company registered in Nairobi, in Kenya, and they have all sorts of other things that you might want to take into consideration. So I've also spoken about, each of these things. So the advantages. I think we've spoken about the advantages and the disadvantages. In Nigeria, just think about it from three perspectives. Like you do business name registration, and then you do limited liability, or you decide that you want to go to the stock exchange. You get, in Nigeria, it's like business name, limited liability, or you want to become PLC. So you have to think about it. Right? What are the advantages? What can you do? What can't you do? Depending on this. So it's like these three, so to speak. It's like saying sole proprietorship, even though, right? Like saying limited, so limited liability versus business name. Okay. So, and your business name and even your limited liability, both of them can be partnerships as it is. So, so here we're talking about the advantages. Then towards the end, we start to look at the disadvantages of the three of them. The disadvantages of the three of them. So depending on what you're trying to do, depending on what you're trying to achieve, depending on your organization, depending on many things, you can decide which of these things work. You can decide which of these things work. You can decide which of these things work. Okay? So as we've said, partnerships work if you do them carefully. If you get it right, partnerships, they work. Or only if you get it right. Because you and I don't have all the strengths. Some of us are very good in financial. Some of us are very good in other things. Somebody knows how to make beads or knows how to make hair, but the person might not be good in marketing. Some people, their brain thinks marketing all the time. They can launch a marketing campaign in their sleep. They will design something, they'll put it on Instagram, they'll do a video, they will go somewhere, they will talk to people, they will attend events. They can sell Ice, what's that thing that they sell, that they say they can sell ice to an Eskimo, right? They can sell ice to an Eskimo. Some people are very good when it comes to these things. And that's why sometimes partnerships are good. But once again, if you're going to go into partnership, you have to do it properly. You know, our parents will tell us that partnerships don't work. You know, that don't partner with anybody. I mean, but the point is, it's very difficult for you to grow all by yourself. It's difficult for you to do this as one person, right? What's that thing? One tree does not make a what? A forest, isn't it? So if you want your business to grow, you might need to bring people in, you might need to partner, you might need to be transparent around your finances and things like that. All right. So limited liability is good because even inside of a limited liability, you can have it as a partnership. There can be multiple directors in the organization. So you can have multiple directors and they're still partners, and then they do the share allocation based on them. Somebody gets 10%, 5%, 20%. You got, I mean, I've been involved in something whereby there were 20 of us that were directors in the company. Of course, the company never moved. I went to Lagos Business School, and then because of the business school that all of us that attended, we said, hey, let's build the company together. The company never moved. We never achieved anything. We never built the brochure, never built the website. Let's not even talk about whether we ever won a job or won a contract. You know, sometimes it was just the emotion, the emotional response that we're all in the same class, and you know, that made us do it. In the US, there is the S versus C. What's the difference? Can somebody go into the chat room? The C corporation versus the S corporation. The C versus the S corporation. What's the difference? Anybody in the chat room? Yeah, so the independent directors are not meant to have shares in the organization. Executive and non-executive can have shares in the organization. But when you say, then they say you're an independent director, you don't have any shares in that company. Okay? And Mr. Richard now has put the one to down. So everybody, can you check what is the difference between C and S corporation? What's the clear difference? Can somebody help me? Damala Afiz. What's the clear difference between C and S corporation? Right? And what is the importance or the applicability of each of them? C versus S corporation. What's the significance? When it's the likes of Microsoft, those big global companies, what are they? Are they C or they're S? Anybody? Okay. Okay. Okay, so it's in their tax treatment is one of the area. What other area? So the Microsoft of this world, what are they? Okay, so okay, thank you very much, Rick. Tax, ownership. So the big ones. Yeah, I know the US is very complex when it comes to this. So, for example, you know, that's why they always tell you that Trump has one tax thing or the other. So I don't even know how they do it. So if you're like Bill Gates, what will you have? Which of this will apply? You know, because one of them seems like double taxation, isn't it? All right. So well, most organizations are C corporation, I believe. Yes, most big organizations are definitely C. Right? So most organizations in the US are C type companies. A few of them are probably S type companies. So, so the big ones are definitely C type organizations. So this is key. Some of you are going to be, some of you are going to end up in all sorts of places in this world. So these kinds of knowledge is useful for you all right? So pretty much, of course, you also have, we talked about not-for-profits, NGO, and even cooperatives, you get? And then of course, people also have joint ventures, okay? So how do you set up a cooperative in Nigeria? Does anybody know? And also, how do you set up a joint venture in Nigeria? How do you set up a cooperative and how do you set up a joint venture? Does anybody know? A cooperative and a joint venture. How do you set up a cooperative and how do you set up a joint venture? What's different? Okay. So what's the criteria? So how do we set up a cooperative? You know, they say maybe people who work in one organization, government institution. So like now NEPA cooperative, maybe MTN has a cooperative. How do you set up a cooperative? And also, how do you then set up something that is what's that thing? They call it a joint venture, like a purpose-built vehicle, is what they say, right? That this thing is just because both of us want to go and bid for something with NMPC. So we set up a joint venture, right? So they now say we have a joint venture agreement. They can even, how does that work? How can you incorporate a joint venture? And how can you incorporate a cooperative? A cooperative, then the people will now start putting money together and start borrowing each other the money. How does that work? A cooperative and then a joint venture in Nigeria. Does anyone know? Anybody? Anybody? Cooperatives in Nigeria. Why and when do you have a cooperative in Nigeria? A cooperative and then a joint venture. Does anybody know? Cooperative in Nigeria and then joint venture. People in oil and gas, they do joint venture a lot. Am I right? People in oil and gas, they do joint venture a lot. trustees in the cooperative. They will go meet a lawyer to set up a cooperative. And then yes, joint venture, they're like partnerships, right? So usually one technical entity, that's what happens in oil and gas. They'll give the oil and gas license to a Nigerian company or a Ghanaian company that has no expertise in that line of work. Same thing, they'll give the mining license to a local company that has no expertise. Then the local company will go and meet the international company, and then they will incorporate a different entity. They will incorporate a different entity. Yeah, all right. Okay. All right. So those are important things that we might want to take into consideration. The formation of cooperatives. We've also talked about a franchise, advantages and disadvantages of a franchise. You know, franchise works sometimes, but sometimes the amount of money, the franchise, so the key is an advantage. So maybe Damala, you can help me, right? The key advantage of a franchise is that you get a brand already. You understand? You get a system. You get a brand, you get a system, you get, I think the most important thing is that brand, right? It's the brand. You might even get products, you know, but the key thing when it comes to franchise is that you land with a brand. On day one, you have a brand. That means it won't take you 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to build that brand. But the disadvantage is that sometimes the requirements are stringent. Sometimes they're very stringent, they're very difficult. And the requirements are also not flexible. If you're going to sign a franchise 5 years ago, or what am I saying 5 years? 3 years ago, even 2 years ago, what am I talking about? If you sign a franchise in the year 2023, everybody, can you help me check? Anybody? What was dollar on this day in the year 2023? Dollar on the 8th, am I right? Dollar on the 8th of February, of March, sorry, 2023, black market. What was it? Can anybody check? Check for me. So they're not flexible. If you sign it in dollars at a certain black market rate of maybe 600 or 700, now the money is 1,005 in Nigeria. Same thing in Ghana. You understand? So if you've signed something, the franchise agreement, franchise does not care about franchise fees and agreement clauses. The agreement clauses do not care about Nigerian or Ghanaian Nigerian or Ghanaian 8th of March. Can you see? So that's today. I'm talking about 3 years ago also. Nigerian peso. Everybody, you should know what is peso now. Quickly now. People are on the call. Talk to me now. Come on, gentlemen. Rashid. Rashid, you're not here before. It's great to have you here. All right. Everybody, tell me. Oreshile Opayemi Oluwatoni Abiola. All right, all of you, I'm not sure you were here in the first session. Talk to me in the chat room. All right. Exactly. So look at it. 753 compared to about 1,005 that is at today. That's the problem with franchise. If you've agreed to that money in dollars with the franchise, okay, I don't care, you're still going to pay. You understand? You're still going to pay. What does peso mean? Anyway, no, not peso, Mexico. No, PES, or what people call pesto. Right? What does it mean? Pestle. What does it mean? The P stands for what? I'm not talking about pestle and mortar now. It's not for pounded yam. I'm not talking about pounded yam. I'm talking about that, right? Okay, exactly. Saba Esther is telling us that Mala, you can put an image of pestle. Franchises don't care about your political, economic, social, technological, legal, or environmental challenges. They don't care. You've signed an agreement, you must deliver. That's the problem with franchises. That's the problem with franchises. So you have to be very aware of the advantage and the disadvantages, and the disadvantages that are tied to franchises. It can work. Imagine you want to go into burger business and you're just going to sign up Burger King, right? That's good. You just open a shop and you have Burger King on it, the colors, everything. I mean, you don't need to market. But imagine you can start a business and you call it Orlando Burger. That's a problem. People don't know Orlando Burger. So you have to build your brand and your reputation from scratch. It might take you 10 years, it might take you 20 years. So they have an advantage. They have an advantage. They have a disadvantage. So you have to look at it. Does it work for you? It works for some people. Doesn't work for others. So if you look at it now, the franchise banks that are not Nigerian banks of Nigerian origin, all right? Okay, we can't really call them franchise. They're branches, right? But they also have to have local directors and things like that. In Nigeria, you will still see a GT Bank probably doing better than some of those banks. But you will see that Stanbic and Standard Chartered, they're very strict because of their international affiliation. If you go to Burger King, if you go to Burger King, they're very clear. You can't do this, the design of the place, they cannot change some things, they cannot just do anything that they want to do. So franchises, they have an advantage. They give you the brand advantage. You understand? Everybody, the franchises, they give you the brand advantage on day one. But remember that franchise fees and associated agreements and requirements, they don't care about Nigeria. They don't care about the key things in Nigeria. They have to deliver. So it might work and it might not work. So it might work. Also remember that we talked about the difference between a franchise and a brand. I say a branch, sorry, I keep saying brand. A franchise and a branch. You understand? So you have to think about it. Depends on the line of work, depends on the kind of business. Because in the franchise, you have to go and use their name. You have to use their name, you have to use their logo, you have to use their colors. You understand? So these are all very important things that you must know and that you must be aware of. So if you're going to sign up a franchise, you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful. You have to think through it properly. You have to get legal guidance, legal advice. You have to hire a lawyer who knows what the whole thing is about. You have to get a financial advisor who's able to really look at it to say, what is the, what, are you going to succeed? Because you know, in a franchise, you also pay royalty. Everybody, you pay royalties, certain kinds of fees. So you need a good lawyer, you need a good financial advisor if you're going to go the franchise way. You need a good lawyer, you need a good financial advisor if you're going to go the franchise way. What's the possibility? Look at it on, they just opened a Burger King on, what's that place called? On Okpebi, not far from my house and office here in Ikeja. They just opened one on Toyin Street, sorry, on Toyin Street. Okay. Now, imagine if I tried to open Orlando Burger. Anybody that is driving by that place that wants to buy burger now, once they see Burger King, they don't go as far as GRA, they stop there and they buy. But if I want to buy, if I open Orlando Burger, big, bold, will it still attract the same quantity and quality of people? I don't know. What do you think? What do you think in Nigeria of today? Which one will succeed? Which one is easy to succeed? You have the same amount of money. Will you go for a franchise, or will you go and start from scratch? Orlando Burger versus Burger King. What are the advantages and disadvantages of both options? Take a big building on Toyin Street, put a big signpost on it, make it very bright and flashy with a lot of lights. Get the colors right, get the decor right, get some great guy who knows about what really nice burgers should look like or taste like, more like it, both taste and look. Get professionals to attend to you, to speak to you at the till, to do that. Buy a retail software that you can use, whatever. You do it really nice. Which one in Nigeria will most likely succeed? Can anybody tell me? A burger shop called Orlando Burger versus Burger King. Which one? Remember that this is Nigeria. Last week or 2 weeks ago, dollar was 1.5. Yesterday, it had gone to 1.570 in the black market. Tell me, argue for or against? Quickly. Argue for or against? Which is going to work? Remember I told you Orlando Burger, build a nice building, flashy, get a great interior decorator, nice car park. People come into the place, they meet. You can even have a slogan on your signboard that says better than Burger Queen. So that they will not sue you. You just say better than Burger Queen on your signboard. But you don't compromise with every other thing inside. You get everything right. You get everything right internally. You get the decor, you get the food, you get the service. Which of them will succeed? Which of them will succeed? Which of them will succeed? Franchises are very difficult. A lot of franchises fail. I hope you all realize that. Most franchises, they fail. Off Allen Avenue, there used to be KFC. They packed up, was a franchise. They packed up eventually. Franchises fail a lot because of the franchise fees, the compulsory fees that they must pay. And usually the fees will be in international currency. Richard, the franchises, have they succeeded in Ghana? Hotel chain, the franchise for the hotel chain, where somebody will buy the franchise for Ritz-Carlton or franchise for Hilton, do they work in Africa? Are they profitable? I think in the hotel business, I think franchise works. I think so because a lot of people, you're not going to create any hotel, or I don't think your hotel is going to be classified as a 4 or 5 star if it is called Orlando Hotel. I don't think so. I don't think it's possible that it will be called. I think in the hotel business, yeah. But remember that the franchise fees they kill. I think in the hotel business, most hotels need to be a part of a franchise. I think in the hotel business, you can barely succeed if you're not part of a franchise. So, anyways, you can look into it further. Where has it worked? Where has it not worked? Where have people struggled? We've also spoken about mergers and acquisitions. We've spoken about that. Mergers and acquisitions. Have they worked in the past? Have mergers and acquisitions in Africa? Remember that Africa is a different ball game. Nigeria is a different animal in itself. Everything that has worked in all the parts of the world might not work in Nigeria. I was in Kenya recently. M-Pesa works in Kenya. It does not really work. It never worked in Nigeria. Momo, you know what Momo did? Momo is working in Ghana. Everybody is using Momo. Because Momo was not working in Nigeria, they took the MD of Momo in Ghana, the guy that made it work. They then brought him to become the MD of Momo in Nigeria because Nigeria is a bigger market. So they brought the MD from Ghana to Nigeria as Momo significantly worked in Nigeria. Can anybody tell me quickly in the chat room, why is Momo working in Ghana and it's struggling in Nigeria? Nigeria always has too much competition for everything. Nigeria, who is winning? Opay or Money Points? Anybody? Who's winning? Who's winning in Nigeria? Momo or Money Points? Or Opay? Are you sure it's Opay? Okay, somebody said Money Point for businesses. Okay, okay. I have a training next week. Money Point team are going to be inside of the class. I have a risk management training that starts on Monday. I have people from Money Point that will be in that class. So why is Momo working? Not Richard. I mean, Richard might not know why he's not working. Why is he not working in Nigeria? Why? Why? Is it because of Opay and Money Point? They've taken the market already. How come? MTN is the dominant telecommunications brand, but Momo is not the dominant payment app. How come? That's why I said that Nigeria is a different ball game. Nigeria is a different ball game entirely. What happened to Pompey? Anybody? What happened to Pompey? What happened to Pompey? Anybody? Why? Pompey was doing well at some point in time. Then what happened? So thank you very much, Geoffrey Covenant. Geoffrey Covenant, you're right. Too much competition. I said Nigeria is a different animal. Nigeria is a different ball game entirely. Right? Pompey was doing well in Nigeria. All of a sudden, Pompey almost disappeared. And anybody research for me, why is Opay and Money Point, why are they successful? What is the Opay and Money Point? Why? How come they both became They're both this successful. What happened to PalmPay? PalmPay still works. PalmPay still works, but all of a sudden, nobody is really using PalmPay that much any longer. Does anybody know? So Momo is still struggling in Nigeria. Right? So these are things that you and I as business students, these are the kinds of things we need to know. These are the kinds of things we need to be aware of. These are the kinds of things we need to take into keen consideration. Are we good? These are the kinds of things. These are the kinds of things you need to look at. What is making OPay and MoneyPoint? What is making them successful in Nigeria? Can anybody tell me? And you want to come to the chat room. Why? Why? There's so many payment platforms. Why are these two particularly very successful? Is it their marketing? Is it their branding? Why? What is making both of them very successful? What is their success tied to? OPay and MoneyPoint. Maybe somebody wants to do some research along those lines. Why is OPay and MoneyPoint, why are they both very successful? Okay. Okay, Rick Godwin Edward said branding and marketing. So you think both of them spent a lot of money on their branding and marketing? But PalmPay was already in, maybe I should look for a slide that says the, let me say, a graph of the top 5 payment providers, Nigeria. Maybe I might find a graph like that. OPay, MoneyPoint, that probably talks about their transaction volumes. Maybe their transaction volumes. But I know that Business Day usually will print something like that. MoneyPoint versus OPay. So which of them has a better agent model or something like that? It's all those kinds of things. They have an agent model that is working. Is it because of their POS deployment? Is it POS deployment that is making it happen? Like they have gotten that POS side of work. They've gotten it right. But I mean, how Chinese fintech clean Nigeria POS market? But on my screen, let me share my screen. As of 2000 and everybody, let me share my screen. As of 2023, if this thing is right, everybody. But this is just banking agents, not transaction volumes. This is just banking agent. I hope you can see my screen. Maybe you can find one for transaction volumes. OPay, PalmPay, MoneyPoint, Momo. Transaction volumes across these 4 providers. Maybe somebody can help me with something. Transaction volumes amongst the 4 of them. Who's got more transaction volume? OPay, MoneyPoint, OPay. can't seem to find a graph that tells me which one is doing better than the others. I can't find that. But as business students, these are the kinds of things you and I need to be thinking about. These are the kinds of things you and I also need to be talking about. As students of business, why is one entity more successful than the other? What is happening? What is the advantage of one over the other? All right, people, thank you very much. I have come to the end of class for today, everybody. So Money Point is preferred in big supermarkets. Okay, Joy says, OP has the highest volume of transactions. Okay, I believe so. I just want to know why. You understand? I'm trying to find out what is the underlying reason that is making it making it so. What is the underlying? People have talked about marketing, the deployment of POS. You know, somebody has taken their POS to all the merchants, so that is working. The more people you take your POS to, maybe the better, something like that. Yeah, it's possible. Now, when you take your POS to a lot of people, the better for you, the better for your business, as it is. So it's possible. It's possible. It's possible. Anyways, right. So once again, thank you very much, everybody, for your time. It's been a great time with you today. First, are you sure that do you all agree that OPay has faster transaction speed? Do you think so? Do you think so? Does everybody agree that OPay actually has faster transaction speed? I mean, I think this transaction speed is almost the same, I think. OPay definitely has a wider reach. I didn't know about transaction speed. Ah, okay. I don't use any of these things. I'm old school. I don't have any of these accounts. Money Point, OPay, I don't have any of them. I just use Stanbic, GTB, traditional banks. Maybe I need to go and then I need to sign up. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody that is taking the time to be here. Thank you, Adebayo. Thank you, Amos Covenant. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, Aisha, Afiz, Joy, Margaret, Mustafa, Ojo Kristen, Tony, Oreshile Okwemi, both Richards. Thank you very much. Rick, Saba Esther, Sarah, Schweib, TY. Thank you all very much for your time. It's definitely been great working with you all today. I will see you next week. It will even be a better class next week. Why do startups fail, everybody? Why do startups fail? What do startups need to know to ensure, or what do they need to do, not just know? What do they need to do to ensure that you don't fail? And somebody is going to come up with a comprehensive list of all the startups that have failed over the last 5 years. I believe that it will be more than 20. If you look at fintechs, clean tech, farm tech, what else tech, insurtech, all those tech areas, housing tech, environment tech, climate tech that are packed up. So Damola, please look into that. Thank you once again, everybody, and have a great weekend. Thank you very much. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you. The attendance, if we put in the attendance in the chat room, please fill the attendance. We beg of you, please fill the attendance. Please fill the attendance. If you've enjoyed the class, I beg of you, please fill the attendance. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, boss. Please, a round of applause to our trainer for today in the person of the proprietor himself. I actually really enjoyed my time in today's class, and I believe you all did as well. All right, a quick one before we call it a wrap. So kindly fill the attendance if you have not done so. Damola, please just help us to do that. Okay, so if you are on this call and you are yet to follow us on all of our social media handles, please go ahead and do so. We need your engagement on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please talk about us. We need you to make noise about Transformation College. I believe you have really had value for your time. Okay, so to some of us who are on this call, maybe you got the link somewhere to join today's class. Please, we need you to register for this course. We need you to register. And if you have registered before, please we noticed that our WhatsApp group can no longer accommodate people or a large number of persons. So please, we have migrated to Telegram. So all materials, YouTube recording links will be sent to our Telegram channel from henceforth. So we are no longer sharing materials on our WhatsApp platform. So please kindly adjust to this new order, right? Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. It will not be like this without you. So we appreciate your time in class today. My name still remains Mercy, and I wish you a very beautiful weekend. Bye for now. Hello, Tony. Okay, so to answer your question, I believe you are in the Entrepreneurship and Business Management class. So it doesn't, the batch one, I don't know if you want to talk about if you are, maybe it is level 2 or level 1 you are talking about. Actually, this is level 2, but it doesn't still matter whether you did level 1 or not. So you are free to carry on with the course. And for our NID students, please, this is your second semester. Thank you so much. I believe that's clarified. All right, you can write batch 2. Thank you.